Thank you for allowing me to speak with your friends today. My name is David. I'm the director of the Marland Mansion in Ponca City, Oklahoma, which is in north central Oklahoma, about 20 miles south of the Kansas line. We're in a house called the Palace on the Prairie. It was the second home of Mr. Governor E.W. Marland here in Ponca City. Both homes are owned by the city of Ponca City and are open for tours 6 days a week. We're closed on Sundays. The grand home is his first home, and it's a 16,000 square foot house. And in 1920s, they decided the 16,000 square foot house wasn't large enough, so they built a 54,000 square foot house. So it was completed in 1927. The Marlands moved in here. At that time, they had ordered furniture and build-ins from all over the world. And so slowly the house was furnished, and Marland's oil company grew progressively, literally all over the South and the Middle Plains and into Europe. Unfortunately, there was a depression and there was an economic crash, and there were a few unscrupulous people that decided they were going to basically attack him, not physically, but attack his company. And by that, combined with the Depression and the Dust Bowl, ended Marland Oil.
Is that right? So now here at his mansion, he was, as I mentioned earlier, there was that movie that came out,
right. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
And the author, David Gans, was here several times. He interviewed some of us, not that we're from that generation, but he just wanted to know what life was like in northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas. And he was a very gracious man. I think he told the story quite well. A lady named Billy Ponca also came to Ponca City about 5 weeks in a row and gave a lecture series on her people. She was from Fairfax, Oklahoma, where most of that was. Her aunt was a victim.
Is that right?
And so all that happened.
Wow. And so that was, the gist of that was 10 miles from where this mansion is located.
10 to 20.
And there was you called a $1 million tree?
$1 million elm.
$1 million?
$1 million elm tree.
$1 million elm tree. That's where all the millionaires would gather.
They would have driven their LaSalles and their Packards and their Continentals and all of that.
Wow.
And, well, they would have had a driver. They weren't driving. Someone was driving.
Someone driving for them. And so this is the kitchen, part of the kitchen area, and that's a picture of the chef, one of the chefs. But Will Rogers also stayed here.
That's right. Will Rogers never lived here, so we don't want people to think that or that we claim that he did. But apparently, when he was junior and senior in high school, he came here to the 101 Ranch and learned and perfected his trick roping.
Okay.
So the old-time cowboys from the 1800s, 1890s, 1900, actually taught him a lot of the trick roping that he became famous for.
That's where he got his start.
He and Marland were friends. When Will Rogers' plane crashed in Alaska, E.W. Marland sent his personal plane to Alaska to bring the bodies back. He couldn't bear to think they would be buried in ice forever.
So they were very close then.
Yeah.
And now how many, Marland was involved in the politics of Oklahoma.
Right.
He was also becoming governor.
Right.
What other roles did he play as a politician?
Twice he was congressman. He was elected to Congress. And then he was also elected as a governor, and you could only be a one-term governor in Oklahoma in those days. So he was elected that term. He was running for the Senate, or at least he was planning on running for the Senate, and he had some kind of a major health problem, probably a stroke, and he had to withdraw.
Wow. So a lot of history of significance for Oklahoma and the United States occurred right here in this part of Oklahoma, especially with the gas development that was coming into the 20th century. And you mentioned that Marland was the three top gas owners?
Yeah, for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, for a while. He was in the top 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
Phillips and Skelly and Getty and several others. But he kind of led the way. He was ahead of them by about 2 years.
Okay. Wow, that's very neat. And this kitchen operated off of gas, and here is the gas stove that they had back in the 1920s. Is that right? Well, thank you, David, very much.